Have you ever thought about like when you're really truly like engaged in learning something new?
Absolutely.
Like you're completely absorbed in a challenging puzzle,
Yeah.
or you're so into a topic that hours just fly by.
Hmm.
We all kind of intuitively know what it feels like to be
Yeah,
engaged.
you can totally see it in someone's effort,
Yeah.
their focus, even their enthusiasm.
Right.
But here's a thought.
Okay.
What if that feeling of engagement isn't just like one single thing?
Oh.
What if the way you engage with learning actually has a specific purpose,
Oh, interesting.
leading to different kinds of outcomes?
Okay.
That's the core of some really interesting new research we've been looking at.
Okay, let's unpack this idea of different kinds of engagement because
Yeah.
it's more nuanced than just whether a student is paying attention in class, right?
Right.
We've got a meta-analysis here,
Okay.
which is essentially a study that combines the results of many different studies
Right.
to give us a really big picture view. This one was published just this February in the Educational Psychology Review,
Okay.
looking at 62 studies with over 32,000 students.
Wow.
And what they were investigating is whether these different ways of engaging actually lead to different results in things like your academic performance, the support you get,
Okay.
your motivation, and even how you're feeling overall.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah.
What's fascinating here is that this research specifically focused on learning engagement.
Okay.
Now, that's a little different from just school engagement, which might include things like participating in extracurricular activities
Yeah.
or feeling a sense of belonging to the school.
Right.
Learning engagement is really about how actively involved you are in the academic work itself,
Right.
the effort you put into understanding a concept,
Mm-hmm.
the concentration you bring to a problem.
Right. So for this deep dive, our mission is to explore these different facets of how you can be engaged in learning.
Okay.
The researchers identified 4 key dimensions:
All right.
behavioral, cognitive, emotional, and agentic engagement.
Got it.
And the big question we're tackling is whether each of these has its own special role to play in your learning journey.
All right, let's dive in.
Let's start with behavioral engagement.
Okay.
What does that actually look like when you're learning?
So behavioral engagement is really about the effort you physically put into your learning.
Okay.
Think about consistently attending lectures, dedicating time to studying, putting in the hard work on assignments, and sticking with tasks even when they become challenging.
Right.
It's about actively mobilizing your physical effort to meet the demands of learning.
And what did this large-scale meta-analysis reveal about how that behavioral engagement connects to what you actually achieve?
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
They found that behavioral engagement was the strongest predictor of achievement.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about making tangible progress in your learning,
Yeah.
developing new skills, and yes, getting those good grades.
Mm-hmm.
The overall correlation they found was statistically significant and quite notable.
Okay.
Fisher's Z equals 0.31.
Mm-hmm.
P is less than 0.0001.
Okay.
It really brings home the idea that consistent effort and dedicated practice are fundamental when it comes to mastering anything new.
That totally makes sense intuitively, doesn't
Awesome.
it? It aligns with so much of what we know about getting better at things.
Yeah.
You've got to put in the time and effort.
Absolutely.
And the researchers actually found this relationship held true, whether they looked at how students reported their own achievement
Okay.
or at more objective measures like exam scores.
Right.
But there was a really interesting twist here.
Oh.
Students from Eastern regions showed an even stronger link between that behavioral effort and their academic achievement compared to students from Western regions.
That regional difference raises a really interesting point for you to consider.
Right.
Could there be cultural aspects related to how effort and academic success are valued
Yeah.
that might strengthen that connection in Eastern contexts?
Interesting.
It makes you wonder if there are any differences in learning approaches that you, in a Western context, might find beneficial to explore without making any broad generalizations, of course.
Right, of course.
Now, let's move on to agentic engagement.
Okay.
This might be a newer term for some.
Yeah.
What's the essence of that?
Agentic engagement is all about you as a learner,
Okay.
actively contributing to your learning process.
Okay.
Think about it as offering your own insights during a discussion.
Uh-huh.
asking specific questions to clarify things that aren't clear to you,
Hmm.
making suggestions about how a topic could be explored in a way that resonates more,
Yeah.
or even just communicating to your instructor what kind of support you feel you need.
Right.
It's about taking initiative and having a voice in shaping your own learning experience.
And this meta-analysis had a particularly unique finding connected to this type of engagement, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah.
They discovered that agentic engagement was the strongest predictor of social support. And when they talk about social support in this context, they mean experiencing warm, positive relationships,
Mhm.
particularly with educators who support your independence and learning.
Yeah.
The correlation here was actually even stronger than the link between behavioral engagement and achievement.
Wow.
Fisher Z equals 0.49.
Okay.
P is less than 0.001.
That's a really powerful connection.
It is.
Why do you think it is that students who are more proactive in their learning also tend to experience more social support, especially from their teachers?
It seems that when you actively express your needs and preferences as a learner,
Hmm.
you're essentially inviting your teachers into a more collaborative relationship.
Oh, interesting.
By offering your input and asking for what helps you learn best,
Yeah.
you're giving them valuable information and opportunities to provide more tailored support.
That makes sense.
It makes sense that teachers might respond more positively to a student who is actively trying to engage and understand, doesn't it?
It does.
So for you listening, if you're ever feeling less supported in a particular course, proactively asking more clarifying questions,
Right.
or even suggesting alternative ways to approach the material could be a concrete step to consider based on this research.
That's a great actionable takeaway.
And did this link between agentic engagement and social support extend to your peers as well? Or was it primarily focused on the relationships with teachers?
Good question.
The link was particularly strong when it came to teacher support, although they did find a significant connection with peer support as well.
Okay.
Interestingly, just like we saw with behavioral engagement and achievement,
Right.
students from Eastern regions also showed a stronger link between agentic engagement and social support.
Interesting.
Plus, the researchers noted that studies they considered to be of higher quality tended to show even stronger connections here, emphasizing the reliability of this finding.
That emphasis on the quality of the research is important.
Yeah.
It suggests that the more rigorous the study, the more likely we are to see this connection hold true. So we've explored how actively doing and actively contributing relate to achievement and support.
Right.
Now let's delve into what's happening inside your mind with cognitive engagement.
Cognitive engagement is all about how you utilize your mental resources when you're learning.
Yo.
We're talking about focusing your attention, really concentrating on the task at hand,
Yeah.
and employing effective strategies for problem solving.
Got it.
It's about being deeply absorbed in the process of thinking and learning.
And with that description, you might naturally assume it would be a very strong predictor of how well you do academically.
Right.
But the findings in this meta-analysis were a little more nuanced, weren't they?
They were.
Yeah.
While cognitive engagement did show positive correlations with all four outcomes,
Okay.
achievement, social support, motivation, and well-being,
Uh-huh.
it wasn't actually the strongest predictor of any single one of them.
Oh, that's interesting.
The correlations were significant across the board.
Great.
Achievement Fisher Z equals 0.28. Social support, Fisher Z equals 0.42.
Mm-hmm.
Motivation, Fisher Z equals 0.53.
Huh?
Well-being, Fisher Z equals 0.55. All P less than 0.001.
Wow.
But it didn't stand out as the top link for any specific area.
So what could this mean?
Yeah.
Why might cognitive engagement have this more general rather than specialized role in learning?
The researchers proposed that cognitive engagement might be a more fundamental type of engagement
Okay.
that actually supports various other learning processes.
Interesting.
Think of it as the underlying mental engine that helps you both understand newer information
Mm-hmm.
and also enables you to seek help effectively or stay motivated.
Yeah.
It might not have one specific purpose, but rather acts as a broad support system for successful learning across different domains.
That's an interesting way to frame it.
Yeah.
Not the star player in one area, but crucial for overall good performance.
Exactly.
The study also touched upon how cognitive engagement is typically measured in research, right?
Exactly. They pointed out that current research often tends to focus heavily on metacognitive strategies,
Okay.
which is essentially thinking about your own thinking,
Right.
rather than the pure experience of of being absorbed in thought
Yeah.
or the actual process of tackling a challenging problem.
Yeah.
They mentioned that other studies where cognitive engagement is measured more in terms of focused concentration on a task
Right.
actually do show it as the strongest predictor of achievement.
Interesting.
So it seems how we define and measure these different types of engagement can really influence the results we see.
It certainly underscores the complexity of understanding these different dimensions of engagement.
It does.
Now, let's turn our attention to the final piece of the puzzle, emotional engagement.
Okay.
What's at the heart of that?
Emotional engagement refers to the positive emotional connection that you as a student have with learning.
Okay.
In this study, they specifically defined it as feeling activated.
Right.
This includes things like experiencing interest and enjoyment in what you're learning. But it also acknowledges that even activating negative emotions,
Right.
like a healthy frustration with a challenging problem that drives you to find a solution,
Right.
could play a role in engagement.
And what specialized purposes did this meta-analysis uncover for this feeling of being activated in learning?
Emotional engagement showed a really strong association with both your motivation to learn and your overall sense of well-being.
That makes sense.
The correlations here were quite high.
Okay.
Motivation. Fisher's Z equals a 0.64.
Hmm.
Well-being. Fisher's Z equals 0.84, both P less than 0.001.
Wow. So it turns out enjoying learning isn't just nice to have.
Right.
It's actually really good for you.
Who knew?
Yeah.
That certainly aligns with the intuitive idea that if you're feeling interested and enjoying what you're learning, your drive to continue learning will naturally be higher.
Yeah.
And that positive connection could definitely contribute to a greater sense of well-being.
Absolutely.
Exactly. The researchers even suggested that emotional engagement might act as the fuel for other types of engagement.
Oh.
Much like motivation itself,
Okay.
if you're emotionally invested in a topic, you're probably going to be more likely to put in the behavioral effort required
Right.
or engage with it more deeply on a cognitive level.
But they also highlighted a potential challenge when it comes to measuring emotional engagement, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
They pointed out that the way we currently measure emotional engagement can sometimes overlap with how we measure motivation
Okay.
and even overall satisfaction. It can
Yeah.
be a bit tricky to really separate out whether you're measuring that initial feeling of being activated or the subsequent drive to learn that it creates.
Right.
They suggested that a more focused definition, really honing in on that feeling activated aspect,
Okay.
might help provide greater clarity in future research.
Yeah.
And interestingly, they found that emotional engagement was the strongest predictor specifically of need-based motivation,
Okay.
which includes things like feeling a sense of autonomy and competence in your learning.
So let's step back for a moment and try to bring all of these pieces together.
Okay.
What are the main takeaways regarding this specialized purpose hypothesis that the researchers were exploring?
Well, this study provides some pretty compelling evidence supporting the idea that different ways of engaging in learning do tend to serve different primary purposes.
Okay.
Behavioral engagement really stands out as the key driver for your academic achievement.
Yeah.
And agentic engagement appears to be the most effective way for you to cultivate social support, particularly from your teachers.
And the roles of cognitive and emotional engagement seem to be a bit more multifaceted, as the researchers themselves noted.
Exactly. Cognitive engagement looks like it's more of a broadly supportive element for learning.
Mm-hmm.
And we might need even more refined ways to measure it to uncover if it has a more specialized function.
Okay.
And emotional engagement is clearly strongly linked to both your motivation and your well-being.
Right.
But the overlap with those concepts suggests we need to continue to think carefully about how we define and measure it as a distinct form of engagement.
The study also employed a relative weights analysis, which essentially looks at the unique contribution of each type of engagement to each specific outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And that analysis really reinforced these main findings, showing behavioral engagement as most strongly associated with achievement, agentic engagement with social support, and emotional engagement with both motivation and well-being.
And we can't overlook the influence of context here.
Right.
The regional differences they observed with students from Eastern regions generally showing stronger links across all types of engagement and outcomes really highlights that cultural factors can play a significant role in how engagement relates to your learning journey.
Yeah.
Plus, the quality of the research studies themselves seem to have an impact on the strength of the reported effects.
So the overarching message here is that student engagement isn't just a single concept.
Right.
It's a complex and multifaceted idea.
Yeah.
And the different ways you engage with your learning seem to have distinct and important roles in shaping your overall educational experience.
So what does this all mean for you, the person listening to this?
Well, it suggests that being more aware of how you're engaging with your learning can actually help you to target specific outcomes you're aiming for.
Yeah.
If your primary goal is to improve your grades or really master a new skill,
Hmm.
then focusing on consistent effort and dedicated practice, that behavioral engagement appears to be particularly crucial.
And if you're looking to build stronger, more supportive relationships with your instructors, then proactively taking initiative, asking clarifying questions, and communicating your learning needs, that agentic engagement could be especially beneficial.
And while cognitive engagement might be a general foundation for good learning,
Yeah,
actively seeking ways to become truly absorbed in the material you're studying can likely enhance your understanding across the board.
definitely.
Finally, cultivating a positive emotional connection with what you're learning can be a powerful way to fuel your motivation and contribute to your overall sense of well-being.
Absolutely.
This brings us to a final thought for you to consider. Now that you have a better understanding of how these different types of engagement might have specialized purposes,
Yeah.
how might you consciously adjust your own approach to learning in different situations to maximize the outcomes you're seeking?
Hmm.
What kind of engagement might you choose to focus on more intentionally, depending on what you're trying to achieve in your learning?
It's definitely something valuable to reflect on as you continue your own learning journey.
Absolutely.
And if you're really interested in diving deeper into the data and exploring all the nuances of this research,
Mm-hmm.
you might even want to take a look at the original meta-analysis published in the Educational Psychology Review.
Sounds like a great next step.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.